always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to accompany a very special family member. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. In the Reader's Digest edition, Why in the World, is a remarkable photograph from 1894. It featured the 7 Sutherland sisters and their father. It's a posed portrait. Do you know what's so special about the photo? The girl's hair had a combined length of 11 meters, or 36 feet. That seemed to be the connection between the sisters and that family. But there are more connections that keep sisters and other family members together, even across the miles. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. RyanDan with The Face and John Mayer with the song Daughters. And I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. I recently received a wonderful writing via email about sisters from a listener that I will share with you shortly. It got me thinking about some other thoughts to begin this hour. This was written by Mabel Drew in the Whig Standard magazine published in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. She says that she was ashamed of being afraid of the dark. If she had taken the trouble to find out that others had the same fear, maybe they could have conquered it together. She recounts one story that gives us all hope that fears can be overcome, as long as we have someone to lend a helping hand. And I quote, "I remember a story told by an elderly Quaker woman, Sister Elliot, about a little boy who, on being sent by his parents to bed, stood at the foot of the stairs looking up into the ominous shadows. His sister, only a year older than he, took him by the hand and began to draw him towards that upper darkness. 'Let's be afraid together,' she said. And suddenly he felt brave and able to go on." Unquote. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Martina McBride, In My Daughter's Eyes. Lonestar, I'm Already There, and Nikki Yanofsky, and I Believe. And I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. This is an excerpt from the book Return to Wonder by Arthur Gordon and published by Broadman and Holman. And I quote, "Growing up in our sleepy town, most of the adults seemed rather staid and sober. There was, however, one memorable exception. Miss Lucy, a widow, who lived with her prim and proper sister, Clara. One day, Miss Lucy, in her 60s, asserted she could still stand on her head. When we looked doubtful, she clapped her skirt between her knees and did so, beaming at us upside down. 'Lucy,' said Clara, 'be your age.' Miss Lucy righted herself. 'What sort of nonsense is that?' she asked. 'How can anyone be anything but their age?' 'The trick is to love your age. Love it when you're young and strong and foolish. Love it when you're old and wise. Love it in the middle when the challenges come, and you can solve some of them, maybe most of them. If you love your age, you'll never go around wishing you were some other age. Think about that, Clara." Unquote. An excerpt from Return to Wonder by Arthur Gordon, published by Broadman and Holman. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Chantal Kreviazuk with Time and the Dixie Chicks and Landslide. And I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. The poet Pam Brown quoted in the Exley gift book collection simply titled Daughters wrote, and I quote, "All parents worry about all daughters at all times. The best cure is to hear them laughing." I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Jann Arden and Good Mother. Josh Groban and You Raise Me Up, and Bette Midler with The Wind Beneath My Wings. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Here is that writing that I mentioned at the beginning of the hour. It was sent to me via email by Heather some time back, and I thank her for wanting to have this shared with you. Its author is unknown, but it is a woman speaking about sisters. She writes, and I quote, "Time passes. Life happens. Distance separates. Children grow up. Jobs come and go. Love waxes and wanes. Men don't do what they're supposed to. Heartbreak. Parents die. Colleagues forget favors. Careers end. But sisters are there. No matter how much time and how many miles are between you. A girlfriend is never farther away than needing her can reach. When you have to walk that lonesome valley, and you have to walk it by yourself, the women in your life will be on the valley's rim, cheering you on, praying for you, pulling for you, intervening on your behalf, and waiting with open arms at the valley's end. Sometimes they will even break the rules and walk beside you, or come in and carry you out. Girlfriends, daughters, granddaughters, daughters-in-law, sisters, sisters-in-law, mothers, grandmothers, aunties, nieces, cousins, and extended family all bless our life. The world wouldn't be the same without women, and neither would I. When we began this adventure called womanhood, we had no idea of the incredible joys or sorrows that lay ahead, nor did we know how much we would need each other. Every day, we need each other still." Unquote. Author unknown, a woman speaking about sisters. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Celine Dion with Andrea Bocelli and The Prayer, and Natasha Bedingfield, Unwritten. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. And finally, one last story about a sister and her devoted brother. Its author also unknown. And I quote, "Many years ago, when I worked as a volunteer at a hospital, I got to know a little girl named Liz who was suffering from a rare and serious disease. Her only chance of recovery appeared to be a blood transfusion from her 5-year-old brother, who had miraculously survived the same disease and had developed antibodies needed to combat the illness. The doctor explained the situation to her little brother, and asked the little boy if he would be willing to give his blood to his sister. I saw him hesitate for only a moment before taking a deep breath and saying, "Yes, I'll do it if it will save her." As the transfusion progressed, he lay in bed next to his sister and smiled, as we all did, seeing the color returning to her cheeks. Then his face grew pale, and his smile faded. He looked up at the doctor and asked with a trembling voice, "Will I start to die right away?" Being young, the little boy had misunderstood the doctor. He thought he was going to have to give his sister all of his blood in order to save her. Unquote. The little boy was quite prepared to make the biggest sacrifice of all for his very special sister. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.